Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Live. I'm Mike King, and I've been on the road all day long and just chomping at the bit as I watched the Lori Vallow Daybell findings start to roll down. So, we're going to just chat tonight. I want to hear what you're thinking, and I'm going to share with you some of what I've been thinking. And goes back clear before all this yaha broohoo going on with Chad Daybell trying to get his trial separated and split away from Lori. His defense arguing to move forward, the prosecution asking for October to be the trial date. And all the while, we knew that Judge Stephen Boyce had the order back, the results on Lori Daybell. And today we found out what's going on. And if you haven't been paying attention, Lori Daybell has been found competent to stand trial for the murder of JJ and Tylee and Tammy Daybell. And she's going to stand as a co-conspirator with her husband, Chad Daybell. They're going to face trial. Now, she is going to be arraigned in a week from today. So like the 19th of April. So I guess it's a little more than a week. And then she will have more clarity as to the trial and the dates. And if you've been watching, this is going to be interesting because go back just about a week or so ago when Stephen Boyce, the judge on this case, was listening to arguments from Mr. Pryor, Chad Daybell's attorney, Mr. Archibald, Lori Daybell's attorney, and the prosecution. And the prosecution went in and they said, hey, we can wait till October to put this case together and try it. You remember, it was originally set to go in January of 2023. The judge said, we're not moving this thing. We're going to go for January. Now, again, Pryor was pushing, get it done, because Pryor's thinking maybe he can move quickly and get something before Lori ends up testifying or something weird happens. Archibald is arguing, on the other hand, that he hasn't had time to even start putting his case together. And Pryor's screaming back, well, that's not my problem. Well, now it's everybody's problem because the court has found Lori competent to stand trial. And Liz, thank you so much. Yes, we have waited a long time. And let's just shout out to Liz, thank you. Nikki Bella's here, first in the room today. That was great to see you pop in. Pam Allen, thank you. TT Happy Rock. Diane Phoenix, great to see you back. The Dyson Crazy Adventure. I mean, it's just great to have you all in the room. And again, folks, I mean, here's what we're talking about. Lori Daybell has been found competent. Now, Judge Stephen W. Boyce today signed an order to have Lori Vallow Daybell transported from the state mental hospital where she's been being evaluated for almost a year. I mean, this thing, I think it goes back to like May of 2021. She's now going to be transported to the Fremont County Courthouse to be arraigned on April 19th at 1 p.m. So set your calendars. Hopefully, it will be live streamed. We'll see. As of late, we're seeing those live streams start to get restricted. And especially for those of us in the YouTube environment, we can't restream those. But we'll see what happens. Now, my friend Julie Grand over at Court TV pushed out some things today as soon as it came out. And we chatted a little bit about that. Excuse me. But here it is. April 19th. Lori Vallow will be arraigned in the deaths of her two children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. Now, think back on this. Just go back a little bit in time. Vallow Daybell, Lori, was indicted by a grand jury on first-degree murder charges back in May of 2021, so almost a year ago. She and her husband, Chad Daybell, become co-defendants in this case, and they faced a ton of other charges related to the children's death. And, think about this now. Chad Daybell was also charged with first-degree murder for the death of his previous wife, Tammy Daybell, while Tammy Daybell now gets charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So a lot of stuff looming over them. Now it's going to be interesting because there's got to be renewed interest in Arizona on Charles Vallow. And again, they're going to wait on that case until they get through with this case to decide what they're going to do. But let's just answer some questions, and let's do something kind of wacky. I mean, I've never done this before. I'm going to put in the comment area. If you want to come on Profiling Evil for a couple minutes, let's get crazy, and let's have you pop in the room and see. So I just posted out where you can click to come in and be a part of this and chat with me and ask some questions. And we'll kind of go through this. I want to start back in 2006 when Lori marries Charles Vallow, and they have this beautiful, happy wedding that Kay Woodcock and everyone are so excited about. And then, of course, things start going dramatically downhill. But we'll just talk about this. Rosalie Hatch, she couldn't keep up the crazy going. Well, you know what? I don't know. I mean, and I saw something that I think was a little misleading in a local newspaper headline that said the important thing was being able to prove that Lori was sane when she committed the crimes, not that she's sane today. That's not entirely true. She has to be sane in order to understand the charges that have been filed against her, and then to be able to help in her own prosecution. I mean, in her own defense, not in the prosecution. There are plenty of people that can help in the prosecution. But hey, let's bring in the Hawkins family here for a minute and say hello. Hi there. Who is this? Let's see. You'll have to unmute. And let's see if it's there. We go. Let's see if we can hear you. All right, I'm going to put you in the back room for a minute, and we're going to bring on Candace. Candace, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you? Can you hear me?
Very well. Thanks for jumping in. It's fun to have you come on. I mean, I don't think I've ever done something like this before, but the back office is doing their day jobs, and so I'm running amok. I'm doing whatever I darn well please. And so, what you got on your mind, Candace?
Well, just a real quick comment. I go by Ether Bunny on YouTube, and
well, so great. It's so good to have you on here. Thanks. So what did you think of the news today?
I was surprised, actually. I thought it was I didn't expect it to come this quickly, if ever. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, I mean, I'm going to step back in time and kind of walk through this one by one, but I was just saying the most important thing in this finding is that the judge has now indicated that Lori is competent to understand the charges of murder, and that she now can assist her defense team, in defending herself. And while we were all really frustrated for the last month watching all of these things unfold, it's really important that the court goes through this process, allows this amount of time, that they didn't just jump at 90 days, which there are several clocks. 90 days is the first clock when she has to come back and say, hey, I'm still not understanding. And then it goes to 180 days. And we see that clock keep rolling. And now the judge has said, no more. It's time to come back.
Right. Thank you. A real quick thing is I've just always been wondering if she was just trying to portray herself in that light rather than actually being unable to understand.
Yeah, I don't know. And in a minute, I'm going to play a little clip of JJ's grandparents talking about what happened today, and that question comes up of was she faking or not? Who knows, and who cares at this point? Now she's
Right.
been deemed competent, and if they hadn't done that, at some point they could have said she was incompetent, and yet you went ahead anyway, and that could have been cause for the case to be thrown out and to have to start over. So thanks for taking time to jump on. It's so nice of you to do that. And folks, look in the chat box if you want. You can pop in, and we're going to just answer a few questions and say hi and let you meet each other. And thanks so much. Have a great day. All right, let's see if we got some audio now.
Yeah, I
Can
think
you?
you should.
Great. Now, so what is your screen name?
My screen name is Hawkins Family Adventures.
Hawkins
Um,
Family Adventures. And what kind of question do you have? Or
um,
comment?
I I just want there to be actual real justice for the kids. Without everybody else's inputs, we need to make sure that they are guilty because the kids didn't deserve what they got. Period. And it's the kids that suffered, and they need to pay for it if that's what they did to them.
Well, amen to that. That is what these are about. Number one, holding people responsible for their actions, but
Yes.
giving the victims of crime justice. So, well, thank you so much for jumping on
Mhm.
with us, and for all your support over the years. It's been wonderful, and thanks for jumping on with us today.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a great day. Yeah, so that's where we are, folks. On this thing is we've got Lori Vallow has been deemed competent, and this is kind of interesting. If you look at the actual court document, it says based on the court's determination that the defendant Lori Noreen Vallow, aka Lori Noreen Vallow Daybell, and of course we could add all those other names, is restored to competency and is fit to proceed. The court orders the defendant be brought before this court to be arraigned. Now, remember, the arraignment is the formal reading of the charges and then gets the ball rolling. And we already know that there's a January date set. Now, could that impact that date? That will be interesting. But think about this. John Pryor is arguing against that. He's saying, listen, my client has already sat in jail for more than a year. He deserves his day in court, but the court's not splitting these cases. They're saying no deal. It's going to go forward as is, and so that's going to be really interesting. Well, let's bring Christina in. Hi, Christina. How you
Hey,
doing?
Mike. I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for joining. It's this is fun, and you know what? This is like I don't know, some kind of knee jerk reaction or elbow cock or something like that. Anyway, what's your question or your
Well,
comment?
first, I've met you in person because I actually live in Utah.
And where did we meet?
When you were with Adventures with Purpose up at the lake.
Oh, up at the lake at East Canyon Reservoir.
Yep.
Yeah. That's right. Oh boy. Well, I'm getting so old it's hard to remember everything, but yeah, that was a pretty remarkable day. And you know, I'm going to use this as a segue to remind everybody I launched out on a new project with Adventures with Purpose in the last couple of weeks. Have been providing them all of the investigative support on the investigations that they have going on right now. And if you are a follower of Ventures with Purpose, you'll see that we've recovered 2 bodies in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
One that's been missing for 19 years, and another young man who's been missing for 16 years. And we're hoping that by adding some of the insights that I guess my years have added to this, that we're going to see an increase. And so far, we're seeing an increase in the number of recovered bodies. So that's been really exciting. So please watch for Adventures with Purpose. If you haven't subscribed over there, make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you're subscribed here, folks, so that you're getting all of our updates as they come through. But we'll be doing a pre-search podcast where we're talking about the victim in the case and some of the peculiarities, and I give them some recommendations from my experience in working with geography and maps and investigations. And then we send the team off and they go do their thing. And so they're still on the road. In fact, I was with Jared Lysick last night. He's flying out to Missouri right now to look into a veteran who disappeared some time ago, and we think we might have a handle on where that guy is. So anyway, Christina, what's your comment besides the fact that we met?
So my question is, now that she's been deemed confident, are they going to use that as their defense for during the time the kids were killed? That she didn't know what she was doing?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, and the easy answer is, in the state of Idaho, insanity is not a defense, so it doesn't matter. She can say I was goofy as a jaybird, but the really important thing here that we look at from a behavioral perspective when we're investigating and putting cases like this together is that she knew what society standards were and she chose to violate them anyway. And then
Mhm.
she took it another step further and she tried to conceal and walk away from it. And, you know, think back when we were kids, we would, when things didn't go the way we liked, we kind of yelled out do-overs in hopes that we could just go fix things and get back to normal. Well, there ain't any getting back to normal when you murder children and your husband's wife and probably going to be held responsible for murdering your husband. So, Christina, thanks so much for jumping on tonight. It's great to see you, and
You too.
thank you for your support. And folks, if you're wanting to jump on, thanks, Christina. If you're wanting to jump on, I'll just put the link in the chat here, and we'll do so. But hello to Jen Lowe, thanks, and again. Hey, thanks for your super chats, by the way, folks. Those do help us. If you haven't joined Profiling Evil and subscribe, please do so. We really enjoy having our numbers grow. I don't know if you see over my shoulder here, we finally got our 100,000 plaque from YouTube, which was pretty exciting. But I'm most excited about the Profiling Evil Academy, where we look at the profiling process, the investigative process. So I hope you're also checking out our membership and the opportunities there. But just know your donations really do help us to do the things that we're trying to do here. So Donna Glosson, got to agree, it's about time. But thankfully you are all patient. So let's see if I can see some questions here. And again, I apologize. There a bunch have come through and I didn't watch them as they were coming through. Linda Petrovich, it's about time. She can no longer stall justice. Those days are over. Yeah, this can be interesting. Now, what's going to be interesting is to see if the judge holds their feet to the fire for the January date. But you think about it, I mean, that's still 8 months away. They even though her attorney, Mr. Archibald, says he hasn't even started, maybe it's time to start. So if you go back in Lori's life, not to her previous marriages prior to Charles Vallow, but it was about 2006 when she married Vallow. And before all the notoriety happened, it appears that they had a pretty happy marriage. They were raising they were raising her daughter, who now is adopted, Tylee Ryan, and no, I'm sorry, Tylee wasn't adopted. They were raising Tylee, and that was from Lori's previous marriage to Joe Ryan, which if you go back and watch my video with Annie, we talk about her brother and what was going on then. And there are a lot of people that think that there was a murder there as well, and certainly worthy of continuing to look at. But then we kind of fast forward to 2014, and that's when JJ joins the family. He's adopted by Charles, and he becomes a part of that family. He has autism, and those that knew Lori back then said she was patient and an ideal mother. So then some things start to go weird though. By 2017, the dynamics are changing, and people are starting to say, well, maybe Lori's relationship is getting a little strained. Her friends are saying she's starting to read these doomsday books by this author named Chad Daybell. And Daybell, as you remember, was writing a bunch of fiction books about preparing for the end of the world. And about 2018, now that's only 4 years ago when you think about this, Lori Vallow finally travels and meets Chad Daybell. And their friends say, oh, there was this magical connection, or there's this wackadoodle connection. But nonetheless, they fall in love with each other. She's married, he's married. And all of a sudden, they start having all these revelations, and they start talking about zombies and dark spirits and all of this stuff. It's about that time that Charles Vallow is then labeled a demon by Lori. And if you go back and watch those body cam videos of Gilbert Police, you see where he's saying, oh, my wife has really lost it. She thinks she's a god, and she's preparing for the end of the day, end of days. And he says, Lori's threatening to murder me. And the cop kind of says, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, eventually he dies. He's actually murdered by Lori's brother, shot in her house, in their house. And this thing just continues to get more complicated. Well, let's look at some of your comments. And again, folks, I'm going to put it in one more time. If any of you want to pop in and say hello, I'll put the link in the chat box and pop it up, and we'll have some fun. Ether Bunny, thank you so much for that very kind donation. And Corey B, I can see a movie being made about this case. What would you call it? Evil Little Liars? That's pretty classy. I don't know what that'd be interesting to see what everyone has to say about what they might call it. But Ether Bunny, thanks a lot for that super chat. Oh, those really do help, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks so much. So this is kind of an interesting one. Linda Petrovich says Chad and Lori Daybell, The Children Annihilators. So maybe that's the name of the movie. Who knows? And Mary Deathy Delzes, goofy as a jaybird. Yeah, sometimes I need to record more things, because when I get a little unfiltered, you hear kind of how I talk normally, which is goofy's probably a pretty good word for it. So for those of you joining, we're talking about Lori Daybell being found competent to stand trial in the murder of J.J. Joshua Vallow and Tylee Ryan. This is big news. And of course, she will stand trial for conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Tammy Daybell. She will be a co-defendant alongside Chad Daybell. They are currently scheduled for a January trial. Now, this will be interesting because she actually is being remanded and shipped now over to the county jail, where she'll appear on April 19th for an arraignment. And an arraignment is this formal calling of the charges and saying what's going to happen. I really found this video interesting, and I want to pop this up. But first, I think, we did. Brent Montgomery, so good to see you, Brent. Thank you so much for that kind donation. And I have seen a couple of your emails in the last couple of days, and we've chatted. But thank you so much for that. That's really helpful. And let's see if I can. Susan Hyde, and I think it's Heidi. Susanna. It's great to have you as a new member. Thank you for joining up. So here's a question. Cindy Freshwater says, can Lori claim insanity for the murders and since then been restored to competency? So yeah, Cindy, that's what we were kind of chatting about a little bit earlier. And that is that that insanity is not a defense in Idaho. So she can claim that she was not thinking clearly, but this is why it's so important that all those behaviors, all those, hey, my kids are with a friend in Arizona while I'm in Hawaii, all of that stuff just goes back and just piles on responsibility on top of that. Susanna, thank you so much for that super sticker. Really do appreciate that. And it really is helpful. So let's see. Jenlo, she's shouting you out again. Thanks, Jenlo, for taking care of things. And let's see. Mary Deathy, let's name it. Thank heaven this wasn't us. Well, let's see. Jamie Girl, magical thinking connection. Okay, let's see here. Here's a comment from Janie Anderson. I do not believe that Lori's brother killed Charles. I believe it was Lori to begin with. Alex just covered it up. My belief only. Yeah, that's great, Janie. Now, I don't know for sure that it's been released, but but you got to remember, Alex said he pulled the trigger in self-defense. It was his weapon. And I suspect law enforcement did a GSR test, which stands for gunshot residue. So they probably tested his hands and his clothing to ascertain that he did that. But from the very beginning, he did. Now, whether Lori did it or not, I don't know. She kind of, it appears, got people to do her bidding. I'm going to watch to see what your comments are on that, folks, but I really appreciate that comment. So yeah, and Pam Allen says something really interesting. I hope they don't make a movie of this. Murder of your children is not a good subject for a movie. Yeah, Pam, thanks a lot. It looked like somebody popped in and then we lost you. So please call back in. And we'll try to bring you back in. So let's see here. Wendy Henschel, great to see you, Wendy. Mike, will they be adding on all the new charges that she was not able to appear for with Charles? So if you remember, they're not going to, Arizona is not going to file charges. That's the Maricopa County District Attorney, or I think Maricopa County is a county attorney. They are not going to file charges until they see what happens in the Idaho case. And frankly, if you think about it, other than wanting a pound of flesh, if she gets the death penalty in Idaho, there's no sense going and doing it again. And these are so expensive to do that they may pull back the reins on that and just say, hey, it's not worth doing. So, Hawkins Family Adventures, new members. So thank you so much, and appreciate you coming in. And like Diane Phoenix, I got to just say, I'm really grateful that there'll finally be justice as well. Now, I wanted to just play for a moment some comments as Nate Easton talked to the Woodcocks, and I want you to listen to this. I'm just going to play the first part about after they heard the news and what they're thinking right now.
Tell me your reaction when you heard the news this morning.
Finally.
I was stunned at first, but it took a little bit for it to settle in, but
Yeah.
Absolutely just excited and relieved. I guess relief is the best.
Well, to me, what it proves is that she has played the system her whole life, and she can't play it anymore. I never believed that she was incompetent. I know her better than that. I truly believe she played the system the whole time. And now that they're both going to be sitting in a court across that fence from me and Kay and our family, and and this time, at some point in time, she is going to have to look at us. It's not going to be like that fiasco where when they brought her into school, into the court, and she had her crayon paint and whatever else she had on.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel the emotion, and probably there's some of you out there that are cheering right now as you heard the Woodcocks talk about that. Fiber Floozy, thank you so much. Fiber Floozy Crafts, thank you for your clear coverage, and thank you for that kind donation. Really, really do appreciate it. And Linda, I think you said it well. Let me pull this up. Look at the smiles on their faces. Yeah, that's pretty dang cool to see that. Well, so let's talk a little more about this. So now all of a sudden, Charles Vallow has been murdered, and by September of 2019, and again, we're not talking that long ago, Lori Vallow packs up and moves closer to Chad Daybell. And of course, there's all those stories around the messaging she left at JJ's school, and the things that she was saying to neighbors. But now she's relocated to Rexburg, Idaho, and lo and behold, Alex Cox moves into the same area about the same time. And now think about this. This is September, the very 1st of September. Within days, they make this Yellowstone trip. Look what a great, happy family we are. And then on September 8th, they leave Yellowstone, last time that Tylee is ever seen. Now, JJ's seen, but then both of them just disappear. And if you think back on Melanie Gibbs' conversations, and I know a lot of you have lots to say about Melanie Gibb. It'll be interesting. Interesting that she's given immunity. She has a lot to say, and probably had a lot to lose had she not gotten that immunity. She says that Lori is referring to Tylee as a zombie, and there's actually a point where there's testimony about Tylee even telling her mother, "I'm not a zombie." I mean, this kid probably is thinking, "What on earth is going on?" But then we see this disappearing of the kids at about the same time that Chad Daybell's texting his wife. And do you remember that text? I spotted a big raccoon. I think he said it was running along the fence. And so I grabbed my gun. And while he was walking, I got close enough, and one shot did the trick, and he's in our pet cemetery. Well, only the children are recovered in that pet cemetery. No raccoon, at least that's been reported by law enforcement. And we see that the children, after the Hawaii trips and the vacations and the marriages and those goofy pictures of them on the beach together, we learn that these children had been murdered and dumped in shallow graves. So pretty darn sad. Well, the case rolls on, and then we see the insanity issues starting to come forward. The judge saying we're going to test Lori's competency, and fast forward to today, we get that great news that she has been found competent to stand trial, and now we're going to see what happens in that particular case if they're able to move forward. So April 19th is a big day next week when she gets arraigned. The formal charges are levied against her, and then we start to see what the next planning points are. So let me see if you got some other questions or things. And again, I'm going to put one last time, because we're not going to go much longer here unless you have some questions. But one more time, if there's anybody that wants to jump on and say hello to the Profiling Evil family out there, we'll do so. But this thing has really picked up steam today, so it's going to be interesting. So TatFam 3, would either one of them be able to use to spell "so privileged" if one decided to testify against the other? Oh, so I think I got the question, TatFam 3. Can either of these two turn state's evidence on the other? So I don't know the exact particulars in Idaho. In most states, there's something called spousal privilege, where a spouse cannot be compelled to testify. So the prosecution couldn't put one on and say, "Is it true that you did this?" And because they don't want to lie, they say, "No, but my husband did, or my wife did." But if they say, "I want to testify," they can cut a deal and they can become state's evidence and testify in most states. And I don't know for sure about Idaho. So I'm going to be watching my buddy Scott Reich to see what he says about that, because he's probably pulled the code up and looked at it to see what's going to be a possibility or not a possibility on that. Max Nation for Health, thank you. I can't find it. I saw that you popped up a question and you put a super chat up. So thank you, Fox, Maxi. I said Fox Nation. Please forgive me. Maxi Nation for Health. And the question was, can her doctors and therapists from her commitment time be called to testify for or against her? There will certainly be a testimony given by the medical professionals to determine her competency to stand trial. So yeah, that's gonna pop up, and there it is. Thank you for that again. So that will be interesting. Here, Liberty H, yeah, they can testify, they can't be compelled. And you're right, they're co-defendants, but still, that doesn't mean they can't cut deals and put that together. But thank you, Liberty. And that was what I was trying to get across is it depends if they have a spousal privilege law in Idaho, which most states do, like I said. So really appreciate you popping that up. Let's see. Here we go. Helen Girl 55 asking if I'm going to be on tonight with Court TV and Vinnie Politan. Actually, Court TV this week is so laser focused on Johnny Depp that they said, "You want the night off?" And I said, "This is a perfect night for me to go live and just spend time with everybody." So I won't be doing Court TV tonight. Who knows what happens? I sometimes pop on in the daytime or something, but yeah, Vinny was off last week. I was with Michael Ayala last week, and then this week he's back. He was doing spring break with family, but I won't be on tonight. Thanks for asking, though, and that is a real privilege to be able to do that. Let's see. Is the death penalty on the table? Absolutely is. And that if you look at what was happening, Priya, a few days ago when they were trying to sever the relationship and have two different trials, that was one argument that Archibald, Lori Vallow, Daybell's attorney, said was he hasn't even started preparing and he's got a death penalty case that he's got to take care of. So yeah, there's a lot on the table right now. And let's see. Crime Time Grime, thanks a lot. They did that on spouse privilege in the beginning. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but I think they probably talked about the spousal privilege thing. So that's good. And Milton Kane and the Christian and Democratic Party. Now the fun begins, where we can see if this couple will stay together or demonstrate the fickleness of a relationship. Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see if they try to save their own skin and turn on each other and what happens. But here's just a little prediction is oftentimes when you get plea negotiations, it's because the state gives a little bit and they say, look, we're going to give in a little bit here and let you plead to a lesser charge if you just make it easy on us and plead guilty to the case. This is my opinion, but I don't see that happening in this thing. I think the state looks at this as an absolutely egregious thing that deserves the death penalty. And I don't personally see them backing down and working a deal with somebody. And if they don't, then that just means they've got an incredibly powerful case, which I suspect that they do. So that will be interesting to see what they end up doing. In here, Tennessee girl Lori will continue to say she doesn't understand the charges. Yeah, the nice part is a professional will come in and say, yeah, she does. And they clearly would have had mental health evaluations during the last year where they would have said, we can now show that she's competent and understands what she's up against there. So that will be interesting. If Larry and Kay hadn't asked for that welfare check, who knows how long Chad and Lori would have got away with murder. You know what? I think that's really important to just touch on, Donna, and something that I have been saying a lot of times recently as we look at Harmony Montgomery or just all of these children who disappear is oftentimes families say, I just didn't want to create a problem, or I have such a fragile relationship with my child, and I don't want to lose the few times a year I get to see my grandchildren. Well, you know what, folks? This is too big of a price to pay. If you've lost sight of your grandchildren, or you worry for their safety, or your neighbor, make a phone call to police or family services and get a welfare check immediately. These things just, they never seem to get better on their own. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. If they get mad at you because you cared about your grandchild enough to call police, then let them get mad at you. At least that's my feeling. So anyway, well, you guys are wonderful. I appreciate you so much for all that you do for Profiling Evil. A couple of reminders, if you haven't been watching our cult series, a couple of really cool things. This week we put out, or last week we put out, my visit to the FLDS and Warren Jeff's compound, where I looked at the compound that I had tried 20 years ago to make arrests in. And next week I'll be releasing my interviews, my face-to-face time with the bodyguard of the 3 former prophets of the fundamentalist FLDS church, including the bodyguard to Warren Jeffs, who was my nemesis. And in those, we discussed the children's graveyard and the secret caves where explosives and weapons were hidden that no one has ever been able to legitimize and prove. And you know what? You're going to find some pretty cool answers there. If you haven't been taking the classes in the Profiling Evil Academy, please go and register for that. You can go back and get those. And in the coming days, we're going to start releasing the ones that have already played for people to catch up. You just don't get the extra stuff on those. So I hope you'll be paying attention to those and catching those. And let me just take one last check here. And if you haven't been watching any of the documentaries on the Investigation Discovery and others, there's one on the Tony Alamo cult. Benji came on and we did a recording a couple days ago that we'll be playing soon, where we talked about that group. Also, a woman who spent 50 years in polygamy, was a plural wife, has many children, and after 50 years stomps her feet, saying how absolutely destructive that is. And I think it'll be interesting to watch what happens in that. So from all of us at Profiling Evil, I hope that you have a great evening. And I want to just say to you all again, thank you for your support. It really is helpful. It's meaningful. And I hope you all have a really great week. Thanks.